I feel like I found some positive news when it comes to Zebec. And what is that? We take a look at more specifically when it comes to Zebec cards, they recently announced a new partnership. And that new partnership is with something called Link Nation. Now, Link has officially launched its own custom card, allegedly, in partnership with Zebec. So this is very amazing. And if we take a look at Link, right? Link Nation, I should say, it is made in Brazil, it says. And I'm a very big fan of Brazil because when it comes to me, I can speak a little bit of Portuguese actually, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Eu sou brasileiro de coração. And what I said right there is that I'm Brazilian at heart because I love Brazil. Eu amo o Brasil. But yeah, even besides that point, this is massive because even beyond just this partnership, which some people may think, oh yeah, just another Zebec card partnership, even though this is not like really going to impact, I think, something in a major way, I just want to talk about Brazil a little bit because the GDP of Brazil, or should I say Brazil, back in 2024, which means back in 2024, was around 2 trilhões dollars, right? Which means $2 trillion. So I think that right there is very impressive. When I take a look at something like Zebec, really what I love about it is that they continue to build, right? Because other projects out there that I'm seeing as of right now, they're kind of overtaken by the market sentiment. Sometimes I feel like some of these projects, they act based off of the market. It just kind of feels like an emotionally based project, which is just doing things based on the market doing good or bad. But then what I like about Zebec is that it's one of these type of projects that just stay consistent with what they're doing. They just keep on building, they keep on thriving, and they just kind of ignore what happens to the price of ZBCN and just the market overall. Because when I was first talking about ZBCN, Zebec was still doing things. Maybe it didn't have the recognition, but it was still building. It was still doing things. Then, of course, the price pumped. Now a lot of what they're doing is brought up to light, right? The partnerships with the Zebec cards. They talk about, how Zebec is focused on AI-based pay-fi. Zebec is focused on payrolls, RWAs. But really, we see many of these aspects already when it comes to Zebec back then. But then it wasn't really talked about. But as of right now, it kind of is. So when it comes to Zebec, I think it's always been good since the beginning, allegedly, because this is just my perspective and opinion. I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf. But then now it's really beginning to showcase, the things that it's really doing. And what I like about Zebec as well is that when it comes to the project, right, it's very similar to Ripple and Stellar, but then I think it has more layers because if we take a look at Ripple and Stellar, they're cool. We take a look at Zebec, it has an aspect of AI, right? AI-based pay-fi. We have to consider, right, the AI market is predicted to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So that's a very massive market right there, at least predicted to. Not to mention as well, we have to take a look at how Zebec is focused on payments, global trade and finance. The payments market currently is already valued at over $2 trillion. And we take a look at the global trade and finance market, which is predicted to reach up to $5 trillion in value by 2028, according to Mordor Intelligence. Really, I think that when it comes to something like Zebec, it's a no-brainer for me. Now, I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but some people out there are saying, oh, we think that the altcoin run is over. Is 10 cents still my price target? Well, yeah, it is, because the way you take a look at it is that XRP currently has a market cap of over $100 billion, right? And I think we can all agree that even despite ZBCN doing very well, the whole space overall, generally speaking, when it comes to altcoins, isn't necessarily doing the best. But then even still, despite that, XRP has a market cap that is above $100 billion. So if ZBCN were to go to the price of 10 cents and reach a market cap of around $8 billion, let's say, considering current circulating supply, which is around an 18x from here, would that be too much to ask for? I don't know about that, because the way you take a look at it is that I just don't see why not. If XRP already has a market cap that is well beyond $100 billion, as of right now even, right? And maybe it could do better if the altcoin season does happen. Are we saying that around $8 billion for ZBCN is too much to ask for? If, let's say, the market did do a lot better and XRP did do a lot better and XLM got more attention, let's say, I don't see why not. This is just my mindset, right? This is my perspective. But only time will tell, because I can't tell the future. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, what I can take a look back is at history, right? Because I can't take a look into the future again. And historically, we've seen, time and time again, there is usually an altcoin season, Would it be different this time around? Would it be like the exception to what we've seen from the past? Let's say when compared to back in 2021 and also maybe the last cycle before that, arguably? Maybe, maybe there could be a time where it's different, but I just kind of don't see why not. Because if let's say the factors as of right now are less bullish than back then yeah, I'd probably think that, okay, maybe this bull run might be very different when it comes to altcoins. But actually, when I take a look at some of the data I've seen, it feels like the factors are a lot more bullish as of right now. Because take a look at the sentiment for the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, take a look at the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption, not to mention as well, we take a look at how there's over 600 million crypto owners according to Crypto.com research. I just kind of feel like the factors as of right now feels a little bit more bullish when compared to back then. Again, this is just my mindset. However, of course, only time will tell. It's just a waiting game at this point, and I'm willing to wait anyways because I've been waiting this entire time to begin with. So if I was waiting for ZBCN back then, I'll certainly wait for it as of right now, and I'll just wait for the whole space overall. If I've been holding a lot of projects ever since 2021, would it make sense for me to just give up randomly right now? No, it wouldn't make any sense. This is just my mindset, right? However, personally for me, instead of pulling up some random price chart, drawing some random triangles and seeing that this and that, whatever, I don't want to do that. I'd rather focus on news when it comes to Zebec updates. I'd rather talk about the fundamentals. I'd rather talk about, historical kind of occurrences that we've seen when it comes to the altcoin space. I'd rather talk about that because if I'm just basing, ZBCN off the price chart, I would think, you know what? Okay, maybe it peaked or whatever, but then I wouldn't really take a look at the fundamentals because how can I if I'm just taking a look at the price chart? So then I don't want to focus on stuff like that, right? Because if I take a look at the fundamentals when it comes to Zebec, this doesn't feel like it's the peak for me. This is just my mindset. This is all just speculation because there's no way to tell the future. Like for instance, ZBCN did very well, right? Did I predict that to an exact moment in time? No, I did not. Like I didn't know it was going to pump at that time. I thought it was going to pump maybe later, like with a bunch of other altcoins. But then ZBCN proved me wrong in that sense, right? But then also in another sense, it kind of did prove me right a little bit in a way that I kind of felt like Zebec could maybe be something good, So then it proved me wrong in a good way and it proved me right, I think, in a good way too. I'm still very patient when it comes to ZBCN. I'm just going to wait. And I think the factors are so bullish and I like seeing news like this. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.